Okay, so Halloween 2018, one of the biggest horror movies of all time, biggest, most successful movie of the franchise's history as far as box office goes. One of the biggest movies ever, Halloween 2018, and a sequel seems to be on the horizon. And the reason why I'm saying that is because originally, when they were going to shoot Halloween 2018, and this is a while back, they said they were going to actually shoot two movies back to back and do like the Back to the Future Part 2 and Part 3 gimmick, where they were going to release one in 2018 and one in 2019. But later on, it was changed to where they decided to go ahead and just do one movie. And then they said if it does well, they can go ahead and do a sequel. Now, I've done spoiler and non-spoiler reviews on Halloween. I'll leave a link down below for you to check those out. But I'm going to do this video under the assumption that you've already seen the movie. So if you have not seen the movie, check out my non-spoiler review and then go see the movie, then come back to this video. If you have seen the film, then there's no reason for you to worry about being spoiled. Okay, so let's give everybody a couple seconds to click off if you have not seen it yet. Okay, let's talk about the sequel. So at the end of Halloween 2018, it's implied that Michael Myers gets burned in Laurie Strode's trap. She creates a trap in the basement and lights the entire house on fire, and it's implied that Michael Myers burns to death, which is pretty much an homage to the original Halloween 2. But we never actually see Michael burning. In fact, there's a shot of him looking up at Laurie, with this hate in his face. Then when they cut back, he's gone. They sort of are doing that same trick they did with Halloween 1, where they're leaving it ambiguous, but the idea of Michael escaping that basement is, unlikely. But again, it's not only Michael Myers, it's a horror movie, and they always figure out some way to bring the monsters back. Whether or not it makes sense, that's depending on the movie, but they always figure out a way to bring the monster back because they want to milk this thing and make money. See, the thing about horror movies and why there are so many horror sequels and franchises is because horror movies typically don't cost a lot to make. But because of how hardcore the horror fandom is, they always put these out and they know they're going to make X number of returns. And most of the time, even if a movie sucks, it'll make its money back. So it's a safe sort of film. And I think that's one reason as to why the Academy doesn't really recognize horror films that often, which I think is a crime because there are some great, great, great horror movies out there. But, there's little things here and there about the horror genre that have always sort of been this way. So we never actually see Michael Myers' body burning alive. We just see the shot of him in the basement as it's getting lit on fire, and then Laurie, her daughter, and her granddaughter go off to a truck and drive off, and that's where the movie ends. So what can they do with a sequel? Well, the problem is they've already done so much with this franchise. This is now the 11th movie in the Halloween franchise, including the Rob Zombie remakes, which I thought was a good idea. And I thought if they were going to bring this back, they should just do a remake. Just reboot the entire thing, completely reboot everything, and just do another Halloween story. Maybe in a different setting, maybe a different town, a similar killer to Michael Myers. There's things they can do. What I do not want them to do, this is just my opinion, I don't want them to do anything with the Thorn cult, even though that was the concept behind it was a good concept, but I thought that it was, executed poorly in Halloween 5 and 6. And by the way, I did do a podcast on the Geekdom 101 podcast with the horror geek Mike Bracken, where we reviewed all of the Halloween movies. I'll leave a link down below to check that out. You gotta check out that podcast if you're a Halloween fan, because it was about 2 hours long. We had a great time discussing the entire franchise. But anyways, I digress. I don't want to see that, at least not done the same way. And I don't really want them to do something cheesy where Laurie's daughter or granddaughter end up being the next killer. So what could they possibly do? Well, if Michael survives to come back in Halloween 12 or whatever, the idea of him going after Laurie Strode, to me, again, is just rehashing of the same thing. So now, what could they do to do something different? Danny McBride has already talked about his ideas, that he has ideas, but we don't know what the ideas are, for a sequel. And I sat here thinking about it, and one of the ideas that popped in my head, and again, I'm not saying it's a brilliant idea. In fact, I encourage you to leave your comments and your ideas in the comment section down below. But What I thought they could do is kind of go the Saw route in a way, where with Halloween, you know, I guess it would be Halloween 3, a sequel to Halloween 2018, which is a sequel to Halloween 1. Whatever the sequel is going to be called, you set it in the distant future. Not too distant, but you set it at some point in the future, and essentially what I was thinking they could do is have the entire movie be about a copycat killer, right? Where there's somebody who's putting on the Michael Myers mask and going around killing people, and you sort of reboot it in a way, where it's a different town, not too far from Haddonfield. You mentioned that, you know, it's close to Haddonfield, and there's babysitter killers going around, and this is like the new sort of guy. Well, then we find out close to the end of the film that it is indeed a copycat killer, and maybe we find out that what happened after Halloween 2 was that, well, not Halloween 2, Halloween 2018. God, why are all the names so similar? Anyways, after Halloween 2018, we find out that that Michael Myers, that this guy found Michael Myers' body in the rubble of the house, and Michael Myers, like the evil in Michael Myers, passed on to him. Sort of like it's similar to the Thorn thing, but not identical. Where the evil that was Michael Myers, the spirit of Michael Myers, you could even call it Halloween, the spirit of Michael Myers, passed on to this new Halloween killer, because the body had already been, you know, finished. And that's sort of like the twist ending there, where it is Michael Myers in a new body. See what I'm saying? It's sort of like what they did with Jason Goes to Hell, in a way. It's not the best idea, but it is an idea of how they can keep the story going without having Laurie Strode and without having Michael Myers. Or they could just have Michael Myers survive, and somebody finds him and he goes to a new town and terrorizes, and then they have to figure out a way to kill him at the end. Maybe they have to cut his head off like what Laurie did in Halloween H2O. I don't know. I mean, they could keep it simple like that. There's just not a lot of places you can go. Like if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, will you write a new Halloween movie? It's so hard to write anything new with this material without going into cheesy territory or without going into, you know, stuff they've already done before. You know what I'm saying? Now, what they could do also is, if Jamie Lee Curtis does want to come back, I just don't think they should bring her back again, but she might want to do it. I have no idea. But if they do bring her back again, they could do one true final showdown, but this time it has to be like, in fact, if you're going to do this, they should just call it Final Halloween. Just call it Final Halloween. So what you could do is you could bring back other characters like Lindsay Wallace, Tommy Doyle from the older films, and do like a real sort of wrap up, because their stories, you could always bring them back and do like an actual final showdown where, you know, don't do it like Halloween Resurrection where Jamie Lee Curtis comes back and Laurie Strode gets killed at the beginning of the film. I would not want that. I don't want any of that, you know, death, she died in a car accident, like all that nonsense from the other Halloween films. I don't want that. I want her, if she's going to come back, to either live happily ever after and not come back at all to the movie, or to come back and be involved in this big final showdown, because she has to outlive, I think she has to outlive Michael Myers. I think she has to survive. I think that's the whole story here, is Laurie against Michael. Have her come back for the big finale at the end of the movie, and have them put away Michael once and for all, and then end the damn franchise. Because, yeah, it made a lot of money, but every time they make a sequel, it's going to make less and less and less money from here on out, unless they wait a very long time. So it's just one of those things where, you know, do it. Like, bring back Laurie's family. Bring back everyone who survived. You know, have them go through Dr. Loomis's, like, notes, and have them figure out that, you know, there is a way to kill Michael. And maybe it is cutting his head off. Maybe it's chopping him up to a million pieces or ripping his heart out or something. There could be a lot of different things they could do, but they have to finally put an end to Michael, because, you know, I loved Halloween 2018, but I just feel like I feel like there's nowhere the series can go from here. I mean, this was a great wrap-up to the Laurie Strode story. If you're going to do one more, you might as well bring back some more old characters, make it a big event movie. You know, this is the final Halloween, unless you're going to get into time travel shenanigans, and then have it actually end with Michael losing once and for all after terrorizing some new victims for the majority of the film. That's what I think. So, anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. Give me your ideas for a Halloween sequel after 2018. Of course, we're only following this timeline. Halloween 1, 78, Halloween 2018, and whatever third movie is going to be in this new alternate trilogy timeline gimmick thing. We're ignoring the Thorn movies and H2O and all that. That's what I want you to tell me. What would you like to see? Thanks for watching, and I look forward to reading your comments down below. See you soon.